How's it going?
Morning, Michael. All right, yes. It's a bit rainy and wet, but we live in England, so that's part of isn't that part of the joy of England?
Yep, it is pissing it down here, I can confirm.
Yeah, my garden's looking. I've never had a garden before, but with the cold weather we had and this weather, and it's looking pretty tatty actually. So yesterday I even got one of our gardening books out, and I actually went to the January page. I mean, I didn't read any of it, but I opened it up and I left it. So I feel like that's a step.
That's the first step. All right, my garden's in a state. Let's not go there. All right. So look, guys. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk. I don't know. Maybe it's going to sound like a little bit of tough love. We are big believers in that. The nicest way to say this is that you can always look at diet plans. You can always look at training programs, but essentially, if you're not in the place you want to be physically, maybe not so much mentally, because there can be some other areas, and of course physically there can be some challenges, but 9 times out of 10 it all comes down to you. There can be things going on that are outside of your control, maybe some external factors, and those things happen, but there's also hundreds of things that are in your control. So if you're not exactly in the place you want to be, 9 times out of 10 it's because there's something going on in your current life that's not serving you and it's not getting you to the place that you want to be. So it may sound like a bit of tough love, but if you accept responsibility for where you are, you're also the solution. So you can take away that, that victim mentality and go, no, do you know what? I accept responsibility for everything that happens in my life.
And that's an empowering thing, isn't it? It's an empowering thing if you take responsibility and take action, get help, whatever it is, and actually and start to see changes. That's really empowering and confidence boosting, and I think when it comes to health and I think weight especially, because a lot of people struggle with it, if you get over that and go, do you know what I've fixed that thing which I was really struggling with and I was finding really, really hard to work on, and I've done it, and it can spider out to other things.
100%.
If I could do this, I mean, what else could I do?
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, we all do it. We all have that thing. It's a bit like, well, it's pissing down with rain this morning, right? And it's wet and it's miserable. And I imagine there's loads of people that end up late for work because the roads are going to be busy. And we all know it gets busier when it's raining and it's wet and you probably need an extra 10, 15 minutes. But you're getting to work, your boss will go to you, why are you late? Oh, this happened and it was, and then I got stuck behind the bus and this happened. It's like, no, the reason you're late is because you know it's busy and you didn't give yourself extra time in the morning. And that's the difference between going, oh, it's because of the rain, it's because of this, and the kids were struggling to get up and blah, blah, blah. That you're not accepting responsibility. And it's like when you hold your hands up and actually be brutally honest with yourself, that comes out a lot as well. Like, oh, I didn't do it because of this, or I didn't do it because of that. Those excuses, they just come out your mouth. Whereas if you accept responsibility, do you know what? I was late because I weren't organised. I should have left earlier. Boom. Yeah. Your boss would probably go, fucking hell, I respect that. And that happens in every aspect of life, not just, not just when it comes to weight loss.
Yeah, I found myself doing it last night. I was working and I partly lost track of time-ish. I mean, I was aware that I was kind of pushing it a bit. And then so I thought, right, I closed my laptop and I had to take the kids I had to make food, and then I had to pick the kids up, take them to ballet and get across town and all that. Also, I had to fill my car with fuel because I was low on fuel. So I closed my laptop. I've just got enough time to do it. And I walked through the door. And then I remember I've got a dog that needs to go out for a wee before I leave. Otherwise, it might wee in the house. So it's so suddenly, so I'm rushing about and I pick up Toby's ballet kit, get in the car. I get kind of just halfway through the village and I think, where's Toby's ballet kit? And I couldn't see it. So then I turned around, I come back. I put it inside my rucksack. That's why I couldn't find it. Yeah. So then I kind of eventually met with my wife later on, and I'm explaining that it was to do with the work, and I was working hard, and that's why I was late. But actually, it wasn't. It was my own fault, and I was trying desperately to find some excuse as to why I got myself in this situation. And even with the fuel, I arrived at ballet with 0 on the gauge. Yeah, and I had to walk across town, buy a fuel can, then walk back.
No,
so it was
it happens all the time. You see it all the time. The classic example is but I was looking for my car keys and you moved them.
Yeah,
that's why I spent the next 10 minutes looking for them, because you moved them. And it turns out, actually, your missus didn't move your car keys. You forgot where you left them. You're 10 minutes late because of that. But you go, no, it's your fault because you moved my car keys.
Yeah.
anyway, let's not get into that. But that's basically what we're trying to say is, there'll always be things that happen, but unless you accept responsibility and almost have a real hard look at yourself in the mirror and go, what am I actually doing to make this better? So if you're telling yourself you want to be in a better physical, mental place, want to be more energetic, having a look at yourself right now, look at those habits and behaviors. How much time are you actually spending on those areas? How much time are you actually spending either whether it's working out in the gym or exercising at home? How much time are you spending doing a healthy food shop? How much time are you spending going out and making sure you get your steps in? Like having that a long, hard look at yourself and going are my habits and behaviors on par with who I want to be? If I continue them for the next 6 months or a year, am I going to get closer to my goal? Am I going to move further away? And that's hard, but it's also, like you say, absolutely empowering because then you're going, do you know what? I fucking accept swearing again. I accept responsibility for where I am. It's on me. I'm in control of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a bit of tough love, but you know what? That's what we're all about, isn't it? I mean, we're not going to sugarcoat things, and we don't do that with any of our clients. If something's if there's an honest thing to say, it's like, right, this is the honest situation, and it is from a place of kind of like love and support. Going, you know, you are the reason why you're here, and certainly if you are, in our kind of, we're adults. Like whatever's happened in the past, we are the reasons why we've got here. Also, we can fix the situation. We have all the ability and inside us to do it. And I suppose, taking a bit of an outside look. If somebody was looking at your life and from the outside and looking at it, going, does this person look like somebody who's looking after themselves, who believes themselves, who kind of has self-esteem high enough to look after themselves? What are they doing from the outside? Would they look like somebody who is healthy and someone striving? And if not, and it's I mean, you could even write it down. What am I doing in my life to show that I am healthy and show that I actually care about my body and my long-term kind of health, or am I not? I mean, again, that bit of that can be hard, can't it? To honestly look at ourselves, and I've certainly done it with my health, but also with my business as well, and in different areas, and actually gone, I'm not doing the things that I should be doing, that I actually want to do, and that is a big step. But that actually maybe it's the biggest step to take.
It probably is the biggest step, and it's probably like the most crucial step as well, because it's always another diet plan, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's always another diet plan. So there's this new thing that pops up and you go, well, that sounds good. So that's the solution. But if it was always just a case of going on another diet, you probably would have figured it out by now.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that really comes out nowadays. It's not new. And also it's not about that anyway, is it? It's because that's people are just trying to sell programs, diet programs. They want to make money. And of course they believe in their products, but most people know what to do. So it's about having that tough conversation with yourself and saying, am I happy with this place I'm in, and what am I actually willing, or what am I actually doing about it? And then we do the DeMartini values assessment, don't we, in our program? So that helps. If you don't know what it is, it basically helps figure out what your highest values are. Most people come up with like family, traveling, work, and health's normally quite high up there. And then it's like, am I actually doing things towards my health?
Do you know,
when
it comes to health, when I do it sometimes it's not even there. And sometimes when my clients go through it, some of them will pick up on that. Yeah. But sometimes I go through it and go, what's missing? And they're like, oh, I'm not sure. Well, then it's like, oh, it's nothing about health or me. It's like, yeah, there's nothing in there. It's work, family, football, whatever it is. It's these things they're more important to you. But then that can also be empowering, can't it?
Yeah.
How can we link? If one of your highest values is your family, then how can we link health to that? And that's quite an easy link, isn't it? If you're healthier and fitter, then you're going to live longer. I mean, at the base of it, that's, you are going to live longer. You're going to be around longer.
And also, not just live longer, but have a better quality of life for that period of time that you do live. And I was thinking about this last night as well, and I think what people struggle with a lot of time, they say it's like motivation. Like, that's the big thing. I even put it in my group, and someone's put in an extra category that's like struggling with motivation right now, and I just want to call bullshit on that, because it really actually pisses me off, because I think it's not motivation, because if you weren't motivated at all, you wouldn't want to be making these changes. You wouldn't have these thoughts. So you do have the motivation. It's things like discipline. It's things like having a really strong why. That's what people struggle with. And I think if you think about work, there's like a massive leverage there, isn't there? Because if you don't go to work, you can't provide food for your family. You're going to get your house repossessed. You're not going to have your car. You can't buy stuff. There's leverage, like massive leverage. Whereas when it comes to your fitness, if you don't do stuff for a little while, gradually you put on weight, and you can't necessarily see the long-term effects. But if someone like had leverage, if someone said to you, right, unless you go to the gym at 6 a.m. for the next 5 days, you are going to have a heart attack by the end of the week, because I've seen it. It's a guarantee. You'd be at the gym, wouldn't you? So there's a massive like leverage there. So I think people talk about like motivation. I just think it's bullshit. You've got to find things that are bigger than that, and then have that big, strong why, like why it's important, why you want to like spend time with your family, be on this earth longer, and then have a bit of discipline, a bit of like self-control, like delaying that gratification. That's another thing that people struggle with. You know, you've got to be like, look, do you know what? I'm going to delay that gratification because I've got a bigger picture.
Yeah. Just thinking back to what you said a minute ago about that kind of heart attack in a week. How often do you hear people say, well, I think I need something kind of big to happen for me to really make the change. And
How mental is that?
Yeah, I used to hear it a lot with talking to people about smoking. I kind of, when the smoking ban was coming in and all that, and there was a lot of conversations about cigarettes. And said, well, why don't you want to stop? I said, I think I need a scare. It's like, fuck, do you know what? You want to get cancer before you give up smoking? And maybe this is just part of the human condition. It's part of that kind of, and that kind of needing that something big is maybe tied into lots of different things, into kind of self-confidence, self-image, valuing ourselves at a deeper level. And not valuing ourselves is something that can come from all the way from childhood. And it's these things that we create in these little childhood growing brains that when we get to adults are still there. But
you can be sure though, sorry, just to interject, like, you know, someone, and you do have that, and people say, oh, do you know what, I decided to make a change when my doctor said that I'm, I don't know, borderline diabetes, or I've had a mild heart attack or stroke, or all these things. Like, that was like the catalyst. But it's like, if you said that to yourself, I need something to happen to me, like, first of all, that's, in my eyes, that's crazy. Don't get to that stage. But imagine if that was your child, and your child saying that, like, as they grow up, your child's going, oh, yeah, I want something big to happen to me first before I make any changes. You'd be like, shut up, son. Wouldn't you? You'd be like, shut up, son. Like, make changes now. Don't get to that stage. You're like, I always say this as well, like, a mountain's way easier to climb halfway up than it is right at the bottom. Fucking way easier.
Yeah. And that's an exact metaphor one of my clients used a couple of years ago. That actually, when he said, I'm in the middle of the mountain, I'm looking down, I'm thinking, do you know what, the top's not actually as far as where I thought. And looking back to where I was, that's, do you know what, I've made some big changes there, and how kind of a boost in the confidence and his ability that was to look back and see. And yeah, it is easier once you've got going. I mean, none of these things we're saying are easy or simple, or I can send you a PDF to fix. It's you've got to, like we've said, you've got to work on yourself. You've got to, this is part of the project that is you, that I'm going to, the most important project that you can ever have is you, is working on you, and going, you know, it's important. I am important enough to work on, because I've got all these other things that make me happy, that I want to serve in my life.
Yeah, and then I think it's about obviously identifying the challenges, and also saying, like going back to the values and asking yourself what is important. And it is really, really hard to have balance in every aspect of your life, like relationship, wife, kids, work, health. You know, you've got a lot of things going on in our life, and if you're prioritizing one, normally work with the guys we work with, right? Health just becomes lower and lower and lower, and putting themselves first becomes lower and lower and lower. And it's like, and I say this to my guys like all the time, like especially when we have our initial call, it's like, when do you put yourself first? Oh, never do that. Well, how do you expect to show up as the best version of you for your kids and even, you know, your wife, you know? So then you've got imbalances in different areas. So it's important to like, actually, like people say selfish, but I don't think self-care is not selfish at all. So you can be the best for everyone around you. How can that possibly be selfish? But you have to be a little bit brutal, maybe with time and boundaries, and outsource things and do all these things to so you can actually put yourself first.
And then that can also be a learned thing, can't it? Say, if you think about growing up, if you didn't see maybe your parents looking after themselves, i.e., valuing themselves, then
Yeah.
you grow up to learn that's the way adults are. Adults don't look after themselves physically, and i.e., don't value themselves. And that kind of comes down to if we valued ourselves fully, we would always look after our health. Again, there's no perfect, but we would look after ourselves sufficiently so we were comfortable with our bodies and who we were. And then, like you say about kind of boundaries, we wouldn't say no. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'll stay late at work and finish off this email, or I'm not going to get up at 6 o'clock because I'm tired, or I deserve a lie. And we would just go, do you know what? I'm going to do those things because they look after me and they create the life that I want.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and also, again, being a little bit of tough love today. I think what I see and what happens is people go through the program, and I'm sure I know you've experienced this too. It's like it can be quite scary to make these changes. So instead of going, do you know what, I want to make these changes, I'm just too busy at work.
Yeah,
I'm just too busy at work. So I'll always prioritize work, because then it feels better though, right? Because it's like, yeah, because I'm working, I'm providing for my family. But then if you look bigger picture, most people want to spend more time with their family. So why don't you figure out a way of not working as much? Because that hustle culture, I think that's dying down a little bit, which I think is a really good thing. People should be aiming to always work smarter instead of harder, more efficient, getting people to do maybe delegate things, and then you can spend more time with your family, because most people want to spend more time with their family because they're only young for a short period of time, aren't they? And everyone goes, oh, they grow up so quickly. So, if you could reduce your working hours and then look after yourself and prioritize yourself a little bit, then you've got more energy for that time with your family as well. Because I think low energy is an absolute killer for people. Yeah. And you're not suddenly going to wake up and have more energy. It doesn't work like that. You have to do some things that are going to give you more energy. Because I felt a little bit under the weather last week. My energy was low. Gym work was crap. Food wasn't very good. Didn't get out and do all the things I want to do. And it was just due to low energy. So if you're feeling like low energy all the time, you're going to be stuck for a long time.
And life doesn't magically calm down and suddenly another hour pops up somewhere in your life for you to do this stuff.
You got to carve the time out.
Yeah, and regularly I hear, well, it's just life's too busy right now. When things calm down, then it'll be the right time to do it. In my experience, my life doesn't calm down.
What specifically is going to happen in 3 months or 6 months' time? That we all know that's bullshit.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to human behavior and human. It's like if there's something which we don't want to do, like I don't really want to change my diet because I know it's going to be hard, or I don't really want to exercise because I don't really like it, or I don't like the gym. And it's like your brain goes, okay, there's something that you know you need to do, but you don't want to do it. So your brain sends you lots of messages to go, I'm not going to do it now. And you get a little burst of feel-good hormones in your head. Oh, I've put it off. Oh, I'll do it later. And your brain goes, okay. I'm back into safety now. I'm back into the comfort place. I'm okay. And we know that because we do it all the time with, I don't know, a good example would be like a bill that you don't want to pay. And you get it and you look at it and you go, I'll do that later. And you instantly feel better about it. I mean, I'm sure we've all done that. And you put it over there and I'll do that later. But it's still there, isn't it? And again, it builds up, and then I'll do it later. And then when people say, I don't know, I've forgotten to I've forgotten to do this job, and I do it all the time. I've forgotten to do it. I haven't forgotten to do it. I've actually remembered 20 times that day, but I didn't want to do it, so I did something else. And that's
you know what though, like going into that, like if your energy's good, you just do it. Like if your energy's good, just do it. The bill's like quite a good example, because if you think you get a bill come through and I'll deal with that later, what happens to that bill if you don't actually deal with it? It gets more expensive, right? And then you end up getting a red letter or whatever. You know, it's a bit like that with your fitness. Like if you've gained a few pounds, if you sort it out then and there, and I don't know, whatever you want to do, go to the gym, like eat healthy, move your body, it's less to do. You know, whereas like, you know, if you let it build up and you don't go to the gym, you don't, you know, exercise, whatever you want to do, you don't like change your diet or anything, it just builds up and builds up. It gets harder. So, you know, it's about really, again, like identifying those challenges. And I think with modern day society, I think stress is one of the biggest things. People are highly stressed. They're not sleeping well. They got too much on their plate. They don't hold boundaries because they'll commit to things that maybe they don't want to do, because we all want to keep up the Joneses. We're working harder to show this life that is not necessarily one that we actually want. We just want to show everyone else what we've got, you know. And it's just I think it's just quite tough for a lot of people, you know, all that pressure.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. A better functioning, stronger body can deal with it better. And that's mental and physical. There's a definite link between physical challenge and mental challenge. I'm gonna push myself physically through. That's why team building works. That's why those things work, because you physically push yourself through a challenge, and it mentally you improve as well. And so yeah, definitely, kind of being healthier is going to help with that stress level. But yeah, you are right. I mean, I don't know whether life has always been like this for every generation. I don't know, because I haven't existed in another generation. But it feels at the moment like there's a lot going on, just generally in the world and all that. And if you're taking all that on, then I suppose with stress, you're going to find things to distract you from that stress, I guess. Food, alcohol, drugs, whatever it could be. And if that's your go-to thing, certainly if food is your go-to comfort thing, or I feel, then that's not going to serve your body, and it's not going to help you on this journey either.
No, 100%. And like I said, like with stress, I think that's one of the biggest things people, like especially the men that we work with, struggle with. So it's like, what is it that's actually causing the stress? Yeah. So, you know, I don't know, business is struggling, so I have to work more. Okay, why is the business struggling? What can you do? Can you delegate things out? Can you, and then just like, if it's not your own business, most people, if they can't do the job, or that, the next day that the people in charge are going to get someone else. So 9 times out of 10, I know we've had these exact same conversations with your clients. I say to my clients, like, who's putting the pressure on you? Oh, it's me. Yeah. So why are you doing that then? Yeah. Stop doing it. Hold some boundaries. Don't respond to emails. Don't go on your phone first thing in the morning. Don't go on your phone late at night. Don't work when you should be present with your kids. Yeah. When your wife, don't do it.
I've had small business owners that I've worked with who literally been run off their feet for 30 years, ever since they've started their business. They've never not had too much work, but they'll still answer the phone at silly o'clock. They'll still try and fit in everybody into their week. They'll work weekends when they should be with their family. So they've never not been busy. So there's no evidence to say that if they start saying, I'd love to do that work now, but I'm really busy. Could I come and see you in 2 or 3 weeks? There's no evidence to say that if they didn't do that. And kind of every single time that I've kind of asked clients to do that, everything's been fine. And all the changes that's happened is they've suddenly got some of the time back that they wanted with their family. That's all.
Yeah, and of course that's going to affect your mental health as well, isn't it? Working all those hours, having all these things that you've got to commit to, thinking you're letting people down, putting all that pressure on yourself. Whereas you can just be a bit stricter, hold boundaries, don't take calls after a certain period of time, don't book work in the weekends, do all these things because you say to yourself, my mental health is important, and you see these like memes and you see these things come up and it's like nothing, no job or any workplace is more important than your mental health, and it's not. You've got to look after yourself. So if things are happening that in your workspace that are causing your mental health to not be good, you've got to question, like, is it the right fit or not, or what can you do? Can you can you be a little bit stronger? Can you have a conversation? I think work nowadays and people are so much better about recognizing, obviously it's not perfect, but bosses are much better about being open to have that conversation, and people do struggle. Like, I think there's loads of things now, in especially the corporate world, where there's money invested into that, so like their staff are better looked after. So it's definitely possible. Should we give a couple of I don't know, things to do? We always like to give you some things to go away and do.
Yeah, I suppose the kind of the first thing that comes to mind is that outward look. Is that kind of maybe writing like a little paragraph or a little story about
I like to go, who do I want to be? Yeah. Write down, who do I want to be? Who, like, and I'd be looking at, like, in terms of, like, who do I want to be in terms of exercise? Who do I want to be in terms of how I eat? Who do I want to be in terms of relationship with my wife? Kids, like, who do I want to be? What does that look like? And you can even like give examples of, there might be some people in your social circles that you look at, or people that, I don't know, in sporting world or colleagues, like look up to them and get a little bit of like inspiration. Like we always see aspects of people and go, you know what, they're really disciplined, or I love what they do. Like, you maybe use people as some examples. It's like not necessarily comparisons, but like getting that little bit of like inspiration.
I did that exact thing last couple of weeks. I was talking to a friend of mine he gets up at like 4 a.m. I think, which is it's too much for me. But I'd got into the habit of staying in bed a bit too long. So I took a bit of inspiration from him, and I started getting up earlier and doing some stuff which I enjoy doing in the morning. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. What do they do? What actions
and also, like,
do?
what is it about them that you respect and admire? What is it they do? Because I it's nice to look at people and go, do you know what, they're doing some really cool stuff, and I don't know, you've seen maybe some physical changes, like, maybe get a little bit of inspiration. I always think you look at, like, who do I want to be, and then the next one's like, why do I want to be this version of me going forwards? Like, what impact is it going to have on my life, work life, family, energy wise, like all these things. So note them down as well, write them down and create that picture. And the last thing I'd say is start living like that person now. You don't obviously it's a process, but how do I live like that person now? What are the actions and behaviors and habits that they're doing, and start implementing them straight away. I love the old, like, Muhammad Ali. Like, before Muhammad Ali was like obviously heavyweight champion of the world, he told everyone he was the greatest.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah,
it's amazing. He had I'm not telling everyone you walk around and say you're the greatest, because everyone would think you're a bit of a twat, to be honest. But this was Muhammad Ali, so he could get away with it. Like, he lived that version of him, didn't he, before he become it? He told everyone
how you speak about yourself is important, isn't it? The words you use. If you're using phrases like, I am somebody who struggles to eat the right kind of food, it's like that becomes part of your self-image. Whereas
self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if you could, you could change it around, saying, I want to be somebody who eats healthily. That's where I want to be. And if you say that to yourself, or if you actually say that to yourself, and actually, that goes into your belief and into your, I am, and eventually you are that person. Again, all these things they take a little bit of time, but you're worth putting the time into it.
Yeah, like anything that's worth having takes time. Anything, no one can go into a business and expects in 6 months or a year to be like massively successful. It takes time, but everyone that goes into a business is normally willing to put that work in and do the extra hours because of the benefits they're going to get.
Yeah.
you know, whether that's they're looking for like freedom or they want to be their own boss or they want to create something. There's that why, you know, we talk about that why. They'd probably think about that in business, why it's important, but we don't necessarily think about our health. Why is it important? What is the future going to look like if I do it? What's the future going to look like if I don't do it? So yeah, that's what we'd do, guys. If think about who do you want to be, write it down, why you want to be that person, write it down, and then the action point is start living like them before. Like start living like them now. Start doing the actions, the behaviors. Hopefully that makes sense. As always, we appreciate questions, feedback. Is there anything you want us to cover on our next live? And also, like, this is our 10th lifetime.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like that's a little milestone. We've got a couple of comments here. It just says Facebook user from my side. It says morning gents, and it just says having coffee, listening in, guys. Enjoy your day. I'm not entirely sure who that is. It just says Facebook user here, so I'm not sure who you are. But
it's Mark, it might be Mark Zuckerberg watching. That could be his little secret profile.
I'm sure he's got enough on. Anything to add?
No, I mean, I think there's a great ideas, kind of like painting a picture of who you actually want to be, and actually linking it to a why, and not just kind of top level. I want to be. Why do you want to kind of lose a bit of weight and be healthy? I want to be fitter. I mean, that's so. Why do you want to be fitter? And actually really dig down into it, and question every single time. And it's like we know somebody who suggested 5 whys, asking yourself that kind of why kind of 5 times and getting down to that real base level. Why do you actually want to do it? And that's going to be so much more powerful than that kind of top level.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about. Hopefully, you guys feel like you've got a lot of value. And just to wrap up, yeah, I think it comes down to just having that brutal conversation with yourself, which, by the way, is hard. But having a hard look at yourself and holding the mirror, yeah, it's hard. But the alternative of getting to, I don't know, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and gradually getting worse and worse and worse in terms of your health, that's a lot harder.
Yeah.
All right, cheers, men and ladies. I say men just because me and Tom mainly work with men. Don't want this to come across as I'm a misogynist or chauvinist. And I know mainly that on our channels it's men that listen in, but hello, ladies, as well. All right, cheers, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Michael.
Cheers, man.